Hey everybody, I'd like to do a DIY log of this toilet repair project. So what happened is uh, water or something's leaking from here. Right there, it's coming out from there. So I think there's something wrong with the flange, or the wax is no longer holding, uh, providing a waterproof fit underneath. So I'm going to take out this toilet here, remove the toilet, and see what's underneath the flange. I'm going to start off by disconnecting by turning off the water supply over there, right here, and turn off the water supply. And also I may have to disassemble the bidet here as well. So I'm going to start working on that right now. Alright, so I've already turned off the water supply. Next step is I'm going to get a sponge and try to squeeze out the remaining water in the tank. And then for the toilet, the water in the toilet, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a bunch of paper towels, stuff in there, and just try to soak up all the water as possible before I remove the toilet. So I'm going to work on that now. Alright, so I was able to squeeze the water in the tank using this sponge here. It didn't take that long. It maybe took about 2 minutes. Make sure you start wearing gloves from this point onward, because it's gonna get pretty dirty. So my next task is I'm gonna remove the water in the toilet bowl itself with paper towels, and I'm gonna use these gloves here to do that. And once I'm done removing the water in the toilet bowl, I'll go ahead and dispose of the glove, and I'll put on a fresh pair of gloves. All right. Okay, so I use paper towels and I soaked out all the water in this toilet bowl here, and I just had a garbage bag nearby and I put everything inside and I removed my glove, and so that's all trash there. And then I used a sponge for this because I wanted to keep the sponge, and this is the water in the tank is to clean the water. So I just use a sponge to sponge up all the water in there. So now I'm ready to remove the toilet, and it's a pretty easy removal. There are 2 screws, one on either side of this toilet. You see one of them there. I just need to remove the bolt there, and then I can remove the toilet. But by the way, so first, before you remove the toilet, you remove the 2 bolts, and then plus you also need to remove the water supply connection to the toilet. Make sure that's also removed as well before you take the toilet out. Okay, so to remove the caps, all you have to do is use a flathead screwdriver and pop the cap off. So now I'm gonna remove the bolt there. Should be easy. Okay, so this is what I see when I removed the toilet, and it looks like I think I understand what the issue is. The previous installer did not do a correct job, and what happened is that the flange here, that is sitting about an inch below the tile surface, so that is incorrect. The flange should be 1/8 of an inch or a quarter to a quarter of an inch higher than the tile surface, and in this case that's not the case. So I'm gonna have to remove the wax ring here and then try to add some extensions, and so I can get the flange to be higher than the surrounding tile surface there. Okay, so I removed the the wax ring. This wax ring came with a plastic funnel at the end, and a lot of people do not recommend using that kind of wax ring because over time the toilet can shift and resulting in leaks to the at the base of the toilet. So the recommendation is to use just a wax ring without any plastic funnels. So next step here, I'm wearing a face mask right now. Also have my gloves on. Next step here is I'm gonna stuff a towel down this drain to prevent the sewer gas from coming up and debris from falling in. And then I'm gonna try to remove the flange there and replace it with maybe a different flange, or maybe just keep this flange and add extensions to make it higher. So I'm going to try to work on that right now. What I've decided here is I looked at the flange, and since it's still in a good condition, what I think I would do is just buy the extensions and then place them on top of the current flange here, without the need to remove these bolts even. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to go online and look at extensions and stack them up, and I think that should fix the problem. Yeah, so you see I stuff a towel down there, a rag down there to prevent critters and sewer gas from coming up and debris from falling in. That's very important. Okay, so I think I'm going to do that next, is look for extensions. Okay, before I start removing the bolts here, I mark the position where the bolts are so that later on I can easily put it back in the so that the toilet, there's no issue with putting the toilet down later. So I use painter's tape and mark the location there. I cleaned the flange here as best as I could, as you can see, and the original flange, it looks like it's still in a good condition. So I think I'm going to reuse it, and I'll add extensions onto it. Okay, here's my situation. So my existing flange here, it's about 5/8 of an inch below the top surface of this ceramic tile here. So what I did was I went to Floor and Decor and I picked up these spacers. This is a 1/2 inch spacer, and this is a 1/4 inch spacer, and attached to these spacers are these rubber gaskets right here. And so my plan of attack is I was going to use this flex shot adhesive sealant and apply it on around this area and also along the metal area, and then place this down there like that. So apply flex shot around here, the metal flange, and then also apply it around this area right here. And I think that's what I'm gonna do. Someone told me to apply the flex shot all over, including the gasket area as well, but I don't know if that would be a good idea, because if I do that, then I wonder if I would render the gasket useless in that case. So I'm not sure, still deciding if I should flood this whole area, including the gasket, with the flex shot, or just this outer area right here. So still undecided, but yeah, so when I stack these two spacers, then I get it rises to 1/8 of an inch higher than the tile. So that's not too bad. Ideally, I would like 1/4 of an inch, but 1/8 of an inch is okay in my situation. And also, you might be wondering why this flange, there are no screws holding it down. So what happened was they just went ahead and glue this flange to the drain, right here, drain pipe. On the outside of the drain, they glue it in, and it looks like they filled the hole with maybe with grout or some kind of materials there. But it's solid, it's not moving anywhere. So, and also the other issue I have is underneath these holes right here, there's an air gap. It's a pretty big air gap, probably more than 1 inch or even more than that. There's nothing down there. There's no concrete, nothing underneath these holes. So when I place these spacers on here, and these spacers come with these screws right here that you screw the spacers into. Well, I can't use these screws because, like I said, these holes underneath this metal flange, there's nothing under there. So the screws would go in, but there's nothing holding it. There's no concrete down there to hold it in place. So it's useless. The screws would be useless in my case because the previous installer, for some reason, did not install this on top of concrete. There's nothing underneath these holes right here. So that's why in my case, the only option I have is to use a sealant such as flex shot there and glue everything in. I don't have an option to screw down these spacers. So that's my situation. What I end up doing here is I flooded the interfaces between the spacers with the flex shot silicone, and I left it overnight to make sure it's cured and dried. So I'm ready to put on the toilet now, and it looks pretty solid. Everything looks solid, so that's good. All right, so next step is gonna be to put the toilet back on, and I think this should fix the leak at the base. Okay, and as I explained before, I could not screw in these spacers because there's nothing underneath the original closet flange. There's no concrete underneath the original closet flange, so that if I did screw in, it would not grab any material beneath the closet flange. So there would not be any point to screw it in. It would just be a loose screw. All right. I removed the rag underneath inside the drain, and I put on a brand new wax ring. So now I'm ready to put the toilet back on. Yep, so this is it here. I'm pretty much almost done, and I will show you how the toilet sits in there. Alright everybody, I placed the toilet back in and sat on the toilet, make sure I apply enough pressure so that the wax is making good contact and spread out. So now I'm gonna go ahead and bolt it in and hook up the water supply line, and I think I should be done. I'm also gonna caulk around as well. Okay, I turned the water back on, the water supply back on, and checked all the connections for any signs of leakage, and I don't see anything, so that's good. Now I'm gonna do my first flush here, and first flush to check to make sure there's no leakage at the base of the toilet. So I'm gonna do my first flush. Alright, so that was the first flush, and I'm looking mainly for leakage on the side here, because that was the original problem, was that I had leakage water coming out from this side right here, and I don't see any leakage at this time. So I'm gonna do a few more flushes and double check. Okay, I did about 10 flushes, and I ran my fingers all along the base there, along the base on either side and on the back as well. I did not feel any moisture, so I think that leakage problem at the base is fixed with the raised extension. So I think that did the trick. I'm not gonna caulk the base at this time. I'm gonna have it tested for the next few days, maybe 3 or 4 days, just to make sure there are no leaks. And once that's confirmed, I'll go ahead and caulk the base. So I consider this a finished and successful project to fix the leakage at the base. And just want to point out a few pointers for this project. One is make sure your bolts are lined up properly, and do a dry run of everything. Don't glue everything in place. Do a dry run. Stack up your extensions. Make sure that you have the right extensions, the right combination of extensions, the right height, and dry run everything, and make sure that you don't have any issues before you start bolting down or gluing everything down. So that's why I did a dry run. I actually even had the extensions in there unglued, unsealed. I had the bolts in there, and I put the toilet down just to make sure that I would have a good fit with the bolts, no issue with the bolts, position, location. So that's why I did a dry run. And I think the other thing I would recommend is to, when you go to place the toilet down, it helps to have another person, because it was difficult to get the toilet to line up with the bolts, the 2 bolts on either side. And I was worried that I may have shifted the wax ring when I was trying to line up the bolts to the slots in the toilet. But it looks like that didn't happen. Fortunately, I don't think the wax ring got misaligned or anything like that, because there are no leaks. So I think I did it right. But looking back, if I had a helper to help me place the toilet in position, I think that would have been better. All right, so those were the tips there. And Yeah, so I got these extensions were really good. I like them. I got them from Floor and Decor. Yeah, they're pretty much a franchise everywhere, pretty much. All right, so I'm gonna sign off now. It was, I think, a successful project overall, and I think I may have saved myself probably around $300 to $500 here. All right, and I did learn a lot as well. All right, good luck with your project if you're gonna be working on the same thing. And all right, bye.